There we go. Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Welcome into another edition of GC Live. Hope you all are doing very well on this fine Friday afternoon as we head into another weekend here in July. I'm your host, Jack Veltri, returning from my vacation the last few days and celebrating my 26th birthday. And as always, I'm joined by my good friend. Thank you. I feel a bit older now, man. I'm
there you go. There you go.
Now that I'm entering the home stretch of the back half of the 20s, man, I'm feeling it a little bit. But yeah, man. And I was always joined by my good friend, co-host, and former South Carolina right-hand pitcher and 2010 College World Series champion, Ethan Carter. Ethan, how we doing, buddy?
Doing good, man. A little sore. I pitched last night, so a little sore today.
How'd you do?
We did all right. You know, we got three solid innings in. You know, we're getting some tune-up work for the playoffs later this month.
Nice. What was the outing you had like a few weeks ago? You went was it 7 innings or something?
Yeah, man. And we so I play in a adult league in Richmond, Virginia. So I drive about 3 hours to play a couple times a month, and yeah, man, had a good outing against some of the young whippersnappers out there. You know, through 7 shutout innings. So we'll take it.
Now, how old are these guys that you're
Last night wasn't that good, unfortunately.
Oh, man.
Most of them, so like on the team we played last night, there are a couple of guys that played at VCU the year before. And then there's some current, like a lot of D2, D3 college kids. You know, D3 here in Virginia is big. We don't have many D2 schools. So it's either you go Division I in Virginia or you go to a high-end Division III. So we got, like, on our team, we got, like, I'd probably like say 6 to 10 D3 guys, and then team we played last night had like 3 or 4 active D3 guys. So it's a nice mix. You know, like I said, I get to do it. I get to go out there and have some fun. I'm the oldest on our team by at least 6 years. So like I said, it's just good to get out there and have fun with it.
No, that's awesome, man. That's a good time. Glad to see you're still kicking it. Throwing some gas, I can assume. But anyway, appreciate you all joining us as we've got a lot to talk about, as the title of the show says. We are previewing the 2026 MLB Draft, which starts tomorrow afternoon in Philadelphia, which is the site of All-Star Week, where the Major League Baseball All-Star Game will be on Tuesday. I think the Futures game is on Sunday. Home Run Derby is on Monday. Our boy Ben Rice will be out there, hopefully mashing, hitting some bombs, winning the thing.
Hope so.
I saw Kyle Schwarber's in it, Bryce Harper. I mean, dude, it's a loaded home run derby field. I'm excited for it. Jack Caglione's in it. I mean, it's going to be really good. and then the All-Star Tuesday. But, of course, the thing to kick off the whole week is going to be the draft, which gets going tomorrow. And, you know, of course, par for the course with the MLB, the schedule for how it works is going to be a little bit whack. So you've got tomorrow, it will be picks 1 through 10 at 1 o'clock to 2:30 are going to be on NBC and Peacock. 2:30 to 4:30, picks 11 through 40 will be on MLB Network, MLB.com, MLB.TV, and MLB Plus. And then 4:30 to 7:45, you'll have picks 41 through 135 on just MLB.com, MLB TV, and MLB.plus. That's essentially, let's see, what pick is 41 here? Let's see. You've got basically from the second round on, all of the picks are going to be on MLB.com. So rounds 5 through 20 will be on Sunday from 11:30 a.m. to 7:30. So that's going to be a long day. And quite honestly, Ethan, I think that's where we're going to see the bulk of the action for South Carolina as far as guys that get picked. There's always the chance that a guy or two maybe goes early in these rounds, maybe a late day 1 pick in like the 4th round. But realistically, I'm thinking a lot of the picks that will be made, pretty much all of them, will come on day 2 on Sunday.
Yeah, I think so. I would be floored if any of I'd be happy for them, but I'd be floored if any of our guys were picked in the first 4 rounds. So yeah, I definitely probably in the early afternoon on Sundays when you can start seeing some Gamecock names fly off the board.
Yeah, I don't really think we're going to be. Point is, I don't think you're going to need to be glued to your TV watching on Saturday.
No.
Like I am definitely going to just be keeping an eye on my phone, but like, yeah, I'm not intently watching the draft to see, is South Carolina going to have like they're not having a guy go in the top 10 picks. Even all the transfers that come in, that's the guys that we're talking about here. Most of the guys that could potentially be picked are going to be guys that are incoming players from other schools. So we will see what happens. And we have a comment here from 2Cocky8710 who says, I guess Cam Flukie isn't going to commit to us for leverage. Straight to the draft, huh? Well, not necessarily. So he entered the portal, what? A week ago, a week or two ago. He entered the portal.
I think it was like last Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah, he entered the portal, and obviously he's a guy that's going to go in the first round of the draft. I think more than anything, it's just to have a little bit of leverage that he hasn't made a decision yet. Like, odds are, I would imagine if he were to stay in college for another year, like the thing about the MLB draft is that you don't have to necessarily it's not like football or basketball where if you enter the draft, that's it. Like you can't go back to school. You can get picked and then decide, you know what, I'm going to stay in school for another year. Like that happens all the time, especially with all these high school guys that decide where they get picked. They're like, I don't really like where my slot value is. I don't really like where I'm going to get picked. Let's go to college for 3 years. Let's improve our value, and maybe we'll be a first-round pick when it's all said and done. Like Cam Flukie has the opportunity to stay in school if he wants to. So, but again, he's going to be a first-round pick. As long as everything goes well on that end, I would imagine he's going straight to the pros. But if not, I mean, look, South Carolina is always an option that is there for him with this coaching staff being here. So,
yeah,
I think just having the portal as an option was just to see, like, if anything went awry in the draft process, he could have the opportunity to go play. I mean, most schools, most power programs in college baseball would be after his services if he decided to stay in school for another year.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, he had to enter the portal because like we talked about, he had to enter the portal on the last day of June. So to Jack's point, if something did go wrong on tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow night, then now he has the leverage to pick anywhere he wants college baseball and probably be one of the highest paid players in college baseball if that were to happen, I would guess. First round talent coming back to school, he would have his pick of anywhere, and I think we would be in a good position with like Jack said, with the coaching staff in place to bring him in. But yeah, I mean, he's by all accounts he's going to be a first rounder, and happy trails, and hope he has a wonderful career out there.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about if he decided this would be insane to me looking at the numbers here of the slot value. Like, I think he's a guy that probably could go within the first 15 picks. That's between $11 million and $5 million in terms of slot value. From the first pick, $11 million with the White Sox, to the Diamondbacks with the 15th pick at $5 million. I mean, he's a borderline top 10 draft prospect. Assuming all goes well, he will be making 7 figures and then some, I'm sure, with a signing bonus and all that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's going to be fine from a financial standpoint. I'm not expecting him to come here or go to school. I think at this point it's just where is he getting picked? And assuming all goes well, he'll be heading to the pros. I mean, he'd be crazy to turn down an opportunity to go to pro ball, when you're going to be a first-round pick. Because you come back to school, there's no guarantee that's the case. But let's talk
especially with pitchers. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Because, I mean, he's coming off an injury, too. I mean, he was out for a few months with a rib injury.
Yeah, I thought it was his rib. Yeah. So speaking of, like, people getting picked, who do you think are the people to, kind of watch for? Yeah. Watch for as Gamecock commits, like who could be possibly we be looking at getting picked?
let's go ahead and start diving into that, because there are a handful of names, I would say, that you need to watch for. On Central, we have, I posted a story this morning with some intel on what I've been hearing. Jamie Bradford posted a story on our site too with the Big Spur of what he's been hearing. So there's a lot of good information that we have posted on the site. So I recommend going there to check it out if you're listening. But we can go through a little bit of like a synopsis, I guess, of like what guys specifically to keep an eye on. But again, I suggest going to read more about it with those two stories there that provide a lot of great information. The one name I feel like, from what I was told, that it would not be surprising at all if he gets picked and goes pro is incoming freshman catcher Elaine Gomez Guadino. He is one of the two high school prospects that stayed committed to South Carolina through the coaching transition, and the staff has done everything they can to keep him here, keep him happy, all of that. At the end of the day, though, I think everyone's known this for a little while now, that like he has always been a draft risk. He's a switch hitting catcher, really good prospect, ranked just outside the top 200 of MLB.com's top 250 draft prospects. So he's a guy that he's one guy I think that I don't know where exactly he's going to get picked. I think he's going to get picked. He'll get picked at some point. I would guess I don't know. It's again.
If I had to guess, I'd probably say between rounds 6 and 12.
Yeah,
I think that's a good range to kind of look for his name to come off the board.
It's hard to forecast where guys are going to get picked because, number one, there's so many rounds. Like the NFL draft and NBA draft, you can kind of where those guys are going to get picked because it's 7 rounds for the NFL draft and 3 for the NBA draft. Like you kind of have a good sense of where these guys are going. MLB draft, like unless it's like a first round pick, it's a little bit tougher to project, especially with a high school catcher, which we'll get into more on that subject in a second. But I think with Gomez, with him, I think you're right, Ethan. I think he's probably like, if I had to guess, he's probably like a back end of the top 10 rounds draft pick.
Yep.
And we'll see what the money looks like for him there. It'll be 6 figures, but is that going to be worth it for him? Especially when and Jamie put out a good note on this, on like just high school catching prospects in general, that less than 30% of high school catchers drafted make it to the MLB. So,
and I would put that number probably more around like 20% make it as catchers. Good example is Anthony Ziegler now playing for the Boston Red Sox. He was a first round pick by the Yankees as a catcher. So I'd say that number is even less for high school catchers making it as catchers in the big leagues. So,
and I don't even believe Ziegler plays catcher anymore. I think he plays.
No, he does not.
Which is crazy. I mean, I was watching a Yankee Red Sox game a few weeks ago. I'm like, oh my God, it's Anthony Ziegler. Yep. But the Yankees drafted like 2018 or something. I mean, it's crazy to think about. But and when you look at the draft prospects for catchers, a lot of them are college guys. Like 10 of the top 16 catching prospects ahead of Guadino on MLB.com's list of the top 250 prospects, they're college guys. So 10 of that's 60% of the top 16 catchers are college guys. And I think there is something to be said about the guys that are in college that have done it at a high level. Like you're going to see some guys like a Ryder Helfrich from he's going to be coming off the board pretty early in the first round, going somewhere. Von Lackey from Georgia Tech, another catcher. He's going to be a top 3 pick probably. He's probably going number 3 overall to the Twins. Like the college guys are going to come off the board, I think, first. It's just a matter of how many catchers come off the board in the early rounds and how many of them are high school guys or not. How many of them are just getting left behind and getting picked. What if teams are picking more college guys over high school guys? That's something to consider there. So point is, I think he's going to be a top 10 round pick. maybe middle of the pack there, like maybe like the 6th or 7th round, maybe. We'll see. Is that enough to convince him to go pro, or does he feel that he could benefit from coming to South Carolina, developing? He would definitely be, I think, the guy at catcher here at South Carolina for sure. Switch hitting catcher. I mean, I haven't gotten to watch him really much, but looking at what he has done at high school, he could be a really nice player. Like, this would be a huge get for South Carolina to keep him here. I know this. It's going to be tough for sure. I think this is the one guy that I feel like is the most likely to go pro. But if you are able to keep him, that would be a massive win for this program.
Yeah, because a big thing why a lot of college catchers are taken before high school guys, they have experience catching staffs. In high school, you're maybe 3-4 guys on a team. You know, when you come to college, you're catching 15 guys. And I know organizations value catchers being able to handle staffs, handle different type of pitching, and showing that they can handle that kind of workload. And yeah, get him to campus, be able to split time with Costello, E-Step, those, you get a good catching rotation. If the bat's playing, that's a DH spot that he could possibly play when he's not hit or when he's not catching. So yeah, I think, getting him on campus would be huge. And to your point, I think of the guys, he's probably the most likely because I think he'll probably pick the highest. But also there's something, like I said, there's something to be said that if you're a good catcher, man, come to school and you have a good 2 years now, man, you could be a top 3 pick or a top 3 round pick in 2-3 years. So, and then that money, I think slot value with where he's rated is like, upper 200,000s. You turn into a top 3 pick and you're making $1 million. So
way. I mean, definitely more than $1 million. You're talking.
So
yeah, there's a lot
and
of.
And the thing, we've kind of touched on it a little bit, but getting used to Coach Schnall being the coach. Coach Schnall's a catcher, man. He knows what these people are looking for. He knows how to develop that position. So I think we have a strong case to present him if he's picked on why come to school would be his best option. So I'm hoping he makes it to campus, but yeah, he's definitely one to keep an eye out for. Of the other transfer guys, who are you kind of looking at?
So yeah, that's definitely, like, if I'm talking about a guy that like with Guadino there, yeah, I think he's a guy that they may end up losing, but we'll see. We'll see what happens there. There is definitely pros and cons to going pro and staying in school. Question from Adam here: any of the coastal guys in danger to lose to the draft? I lean towards no. The two that I'm aware of to keep an eye on are going to be Hayden Johnson and Dominic Carbone. Both guys are following Schnall over from Coastal, but they didn't pitch this year because they missed the year with major injuries. So
yeah,
they from what I was told, they should receive some interest from pro teams, but it's kind of like unclear it's kind of up in the air if they're going to, leave, school. I think they will stay just because of the fact that they get to play here at South Carolina. They get to play for Schnall. They missed the year with injury. I think they could get picked in the later rounds, like maybe on sometime late on Sunday, but ultimately at school, those are the two main coastal guys that I'm aware of to keep an eye on. Other guys.
I would say those two guys have the potential to pitch themselves into the top 10 rounds next year if they come to school. So that's, again, with them missing this past year, what they did in 2025 was impressive. I know that's going to carry a lot of weight with scouts, but not having a year off and not being able to throw will definitely push them back. And then, like I said, if they come out there and kind of replicate what they did in 2025, they'll jump up to be top 10 round guys next year. And, again, they'll play themselves into a better spot.
So a few other guys to keep an eye on, I would say. I think a few of them can get picked and may end up going to sign pro. We will see. I'm talking about Ethan Sutton, Luke Costello, Tyler Pitzer. Those are guys I was told they are like cusp guys, if you will. So they could go either way. I think it just depends on like where they're going to get picked. I could see Sutton being a top 10 round pick, maybe like late, right before it turns over to like 11, like maybe something like that. Pitzer's another guy to keep a close eye on. And then you got Miguel Hugas and Jordan Stevens were two other names mentioned to me. We'll see. Hugas, I would lean towards more. Both those guys throw extremely hard. So there is something to that effect of like, okay, these guys throw 99, 100 miles an hour. We can work with them and really turn them into good pro pitchers with some off speed to mix it in. Then again, for South Carolina, it's like, hey, if these guys are picked in the later rounds and they end up coming to school, they can really do some good things with the heat that they throw, develop the off speed with Matt Williams, and then they're looking at, going next year and signing pro. We'll see. If I had to predict, I guess, which of those like 5 guys I just mentioned end up actually signing, I think Sutton's a guy that might end up signing. It's just my thoughts on it. It's not any intel there. That's just my thought from what I've heard and just what I'm thinking there. We'll see about Costello. Pitzer, I have a feeling. I don't know. I think that one's going to go either way. And then Hugas, maybe Stevens. We'll see. I think both those guys do deal with a little bit of control issues. So if that's something scouts are at the pro level are willing to take a chance on and they're picked high enough, maybe they end up going. But if not, I could totally see them coming to South Carolina. And then you have the other name to talk about here, Connor Schaus. Yep. So he committed on July 4th from Texas Tech. He's the most recent portal commitment. He's one of the top players in the portal cycle. He's a draft-eligible sophomore. And that's the other thing. With a lot of these guys, they're going to have multiple years of eligibility left. So with the whole NCAA age-based eligibility rules now to where it's 5 for 5 essentially, or 5 to play 5, these guys, instead of 1 year left, if they're juniors, they have 2 years left now. So it helps from that standpoint. So like a guy like Costello and Schaus, they could have up to 3 years of eligibility left. So that is an intriguing prospect to think about there. Is that they don't necessarily have to go. I just think it comes down to, okay, where are they picked and how much money are they going to be making at the pro level? If it's good enough, maybe they go pro. If not, I feel like they have a ton to benefit from coming back to South Carolina for this upcoming or for next season here. Schaus put up really good numbers at Tech, 353, 10 homers, 66 RBIs. He could be a guy that goes within the top 10 rounds, but I'm told South Carolina does like its chances of holding on to him. So those are the guys that have come in this offseason that are worth keeping an eye on. And then you have 2 returners that I would watch for. Cam Phillips, Brandon Stone. I think those are going to be guys that I feel like they're going to be able to hold on to them, but you never know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it comes to a lot of this, a lot of this does come down to the money. I mean, this is a business, especially college athletics now. It's part business. And these guys are the goal is to be professional baseball players. So there is a little bit of kind of what do these guys want to, so like I said, the money plays some of it, but some of it is, what do these guys want to do? Are they ready to take the next step and become pros, or do they feel like they need another year? And those are honest conversations those guys are having with their family, the coaches, their agents. There are a lot of factors that come into that about feeling like you have something else to add before taking that next step, or is it, all right, I need to take this next step and see what the next level adds to me. So that's going to play into some of that. And, those guys are the only ones that can tell you how they're really feeling. And they'll keep those conversations within their inner circles to maintain any possible leverage they have. But yeah, I could definitely see someone like Brandon Stone, if he gets picked in the right spot, all right, this is my time to take that next step. Because he's pitched in many different roles and done many things, and he was a weekend starter this year, so there's always that chance. But I'm with you on that. I think where they end up getting picked, they could end up definitely back on campus.
So with Phillips too, he's an intriguing name to keep an eye on. I know South Carolina has basically done everything possible to make it clear to those two guys that like they're a big part of what South Carolina is going to be able to do next year if they decide to stay with the program. Phillips never entered the transfer portal, so at this point for both guys, it's either they're coming back to South Carolina for next season. Phillips is a guy I think you want back. He had a very good season for the most part. Struggled down the stretch when the switch was made to move Phillips up to the Friday spot in the rotation.
Yeah.
He really, as much as he pitched like South Carolina's ace throughout the year and deserved that role, he really did struggle once they made the switch to move him up a day early. And there was a lot of criticism that, hey, why are you messing with something that was working? He struggled a lot, but still, he ended up having a really good year for the most part. I think he's a guy that when the season ended, even before the coaching hires, man, I'm like, that's a guy that's going to go pro. I don't know for sure what is going to happen there. Again, it really just comes down to where he gets picked and what type of money we're talking about here. Like, if he's inside the top 10 rounds, maybe he goes pro. Later on, I think he could still go pro and the thing with Amp that's different compared to the rest of these guys that is important to note. He only has 1 year of eligibility left. He's already pitched 4 years of college. So
sure,
this is it for him next season. So he doesn't have much leverage compared to these other guys that have multiple years of eligibility left. So that would make him a little bit more of a risk, I think. But if he's picked super late in the draft or not picked at all, well, then I think he comes to school here. But we'll see what happens there. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think I agree with everything you say, with everything you said there, and I think that also some of it's going to be what roles these guys think they're coming back to, because there's a lot of depth right now. The coaching staff went out and got guys, and they have filled this roster up nicely. And it very well could be with somebody like Amp. I think if Amp comes back to campus, Amp's a weekend starter. But some of it very well could be, gosh, I'm not going to go through the roster right now, but I'd say there's about 4 or 5 guys, if everybody comes to campus, that are competing for 3 spots. And if somebody were to lose their weekend rotation spot, that, could hurt them in the draft if they go next year. So for somebody like Amp, like you said, who doesn't have any more eligibility after this, it could be all right, if I come back to campus and lose my starting spot, then I could really take a tumble in the draft next year. And I'd be a fringe, back end guy, where this year, if he's, picked in the 15th round, he's got a starter's workload, that could come into some of that too. So like I said, those conversations these guys are having with the coaching staff also matters a ton about what role they are being brought in to compete for next year. That's something else that I think these guys are looking at on what is their role for the 2027 Gamecocks.
So Adam asks, which rounds make the most money? It's a good question. So the way the slot value works, you guys can also look this up on, just type in MLB Draft slot values. There's a whole list of literally every specific pick with how much they'd be making. The top 82 picks would be making they'd be making 7 figures. At the highest, $11 million with the first pick to the White Sox. The 82nd pick in the 3rd round to the Orioles is just over $1 million. You go all the way as the slot value is listed all the way to the 313th pick to the Dodgers. That is $191,000. So you're talking about making six figures if you're a top 10 round pick. At worst, at best, you are making, seven figures and then some. So yeah, I think again, the slot value later on, I mean, most guys should have a chance to make six figures. Some might make a little bit less the later the rounds. Like, I don't know. The slot value is not listed for like the 18th or 19th round, but it's going to be, worst case, you're making 5-6 figures. So,
yeah,
a lot. I mean, there's a lot of money at stake. And quite frankly, there's a lot of money that I mean, colleges are not going to be able to compete with because NIL at these schools is not. I mean, you're talking about it's not the same at all compared to what the MLB can offer in terms of, especially if it's like that's why guys end up going because there's the leverage side of it, eligibility left, and all that. And if guys are in their junior year and they have 1 year of eligibility left and they're picked high enough, they're going pro. But if they have a little bit of wiggle room to come back for another year, improve their stock, they may end up taking advantage of it. The whole eligibility case here has changed, I think, dramatically to allow more guys to come back. But there's also the financial aspect of it. I think that matters too.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I'd also be like this. I think this would be a real interesting draft overall with the uncertainty around the CBA next year. What ramifications could come from that? I'm not gonna wade back into those waters because we're a long way away from any kind of decision. But there will be some adjustment to the draft, next year's draft with whatever the next collective bargaining agreement is. So, high school guys typically go off the board semi-early anyways, but if you see a ton of high school guys getting picked and some of these college guys falling a little bit later in the draft, you could see some college guys decide they want to come back and re-enter that pool again. And maybe that pool's a little watered down because some high school guys aren't allowed to be in the draft next year. So I'll be interested to see like how those first, 83 picks day one? How many picks did they go to day one?
I think it's the top
135. Yeah, 135.
It's rounds 1 through 4 on day one. Day 2 is rounds 5 through 20.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how that all shakes out. And yeah, man, it'll be an interesting way to see how guys are reacting with signing it and going based on the uncertainty around that. So that's another factor that may come into, especially on the agent side of that inner circle and that advice these guys are getting. What are the agents hearing? What do the agents feel is the right path? Because that's, again, since guys can have agents now, that information is a little more free flowing and not as secretive as it was 15 years ago when I was going through it. So, and guys in my class and everything. So it's just more information, and like I said, I'm very interested to see kind of what the trend is, when these picks start come flying off the board.
Before we continue, just a few quick ad reads to get into here. Starting with Clint Hammond of CMG Home Loans. If you're in the market to need help with your mortgage, get in contact with our guy Clint at 803-422-6797. The NMLS number for Clint is 71597, or go to clinthammond.com for more information. If you're in the market to buy a home, need help with your mortgage, like I said, get in contact with him. He's been in the mortgage industry for over 20 years now, and he's a lifelong Gamecock fan, and he's also a longtime show sponsor, the presenting show sponsor, in fact, of Gamecock Central and GC Live for many years now. So he's great. He's the best. Get in contact with him. All his information will be above us here on screen. Thank you, Clint. And then one other sponsor to get into is Zen AI, which is the home of Vibecasting, a new way to capture and share conversations. They help anyone turn a conversation into something worth sharing, whether it's a podcast, reel, TikTok post. No production skills are required. The great thing about Zen AI is that it's portable. You can use it through your phone. It's produced. An AI producer will be able to make the editing process much simpler for you. And most importantly, it's quick. So Zen AI is currently in invite-only beta. Join the waitlist today for a chance at early access by going to zen.ai to sign up, or head to our show notes in the description below for a direct link. Thank you to both of our show sponsors. All right. So as this conversation continues here, we're talking about the MLB Draft, which starts tomorrow afternoon out in Philly, and we'll go all the way up and through Sunday. And we're going to have full coverage over on GamecockCentral.com. We've already started our coverage with my intel, Jamie's intel. Those stories are up. We'll have a draft guide coming up later on this afternoon. I'm going to be when I hop off on here, I'll be working on that, getting that up for later on this afternoon, and then we'll have stories up on all of the guys that get picked, and then a roundup eventually. And then you and I will hop back on here at some point next week to talk about the draft recap and then what's ahead this offseason, because this feels like, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ethan, this is the last big hurdle really for teams to cross before they get ready to come back for school in about a month and a half. I mean, school will get started mid-August for South Carolina.
Yeah, about a month away.
It's crazy how the summer's almost over already. And the guys are going to be back in session. They'll be back having their team meetings, heading to campus in about a month, and then practice should be getting rolling sometime after that for the fall. So, yeah, I mean, this is the last real thing to worry about here. And for South Carolina, full transparency, I think they are in a good spot with this draft. Will they lose a few guys? Maybe. I would lean towards they're probably going to lose at least one guy. I don't know who. We'll see. It could be Guadagno. It could be Sutton. I don't know. There's definitely a few guys they could lose. The good news is for South Carolina, though, they are prepared for whatever situation pops up. They've got plans that are ready to, if they lose a specific guy, they have guys in the portal that they're going to go after. That's the nature of this thing, is that they will lose a few guys, but there's still guys in the portal that they are going to be there's guys in the portal they're actively recruiting right now that they're still trying to go after and get. So the roster's not done yet. It's getting close to being done, but the draft is the last major hurdle, I would say, that they have to cross before they can start really finalizing some things.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, they're prepared for however this draft goes. I think the roster, I read it in Jamie's article this morning. I think the roster can be up to 36 this year for them, because I think the limit's usually 34, but it can be up to 36 for the guys this year. So they have some spots to fill either way. So that, it goes to, Jack hearing that, they're still out actively recruiting guys. And yeah, I think you can kind of see some of that in the kind of depth they've built with this pitching. There are a lot of arms that I think would, if the season started tomorrow, would be fighting and deserving of innings. So they've already kind of started to build, especially on the pitching side, a deep well of talent that they can draw from if they do happen to lose one or two guys. But yeah, this is the last hurdle, because like you said, kids, students report to campus in about just over a month. Generally, you have about a week of new guys doing, this is just kind of inside the locker room, student athlete stuff. Generally, the first week you are doing all your health screenings. You go blood pressure, heart rate. You meet with the medical staff. You do all that. You get checked out. You get cleared. And then the second week, you have your first team meeting. You're going to these meetings. You're kind of getting to the flow of what everything's going to look like. And then that third week's when you start having your individual groups meet. As a pitcher, you'd be grouped with 4 or 6 guys, and your group would come to the field at 1:00. You do your throwing, whatever your throwing routine was for that day. You finish that. You go hit the weight room. Then boom, you're on to your next thing. So, and then the next group comes in and all that. And then they start, full team practice, probably the second week of September is usually when that starts, that first week of full team practice. So Yeah, we're in saying all that, we're about 2 months away from first full team practice. So wrap your head around that.
Yeah, it's nuts. Like it's going to fly by, and then the season's going to be here in February. I mean, it's only July 10th right now, but like it's going to fly by this off season, and
yes,
it'll be opening day in the first game of the Chenault era. But I think they are, again, like I said, I think they're in a good spot. They'll probably lose a few guys, but again, like I think they can go ahead, replace those guys in the portal, bring more guys in. They've built up enough depth to this point to where, like, I don't think they're going to be losing a ton of huge like maybe a few guys that they could lose are huge contributors, but I think for the most part, the bulk of this roster is still going to be here, and then we'll see where that takes them.
Yeah.
I mean, they could make a few more additions and fill this roster out, but I do think they are prepared for whatever's to come this draft cycle here.
Yeah, I think if you lose a couple of the bats, I'm a little more wary of that than if we lose a couple arms.
Agreed.
You know, we kind of talked about this in the shows this summer. You know, as they continue to make as they continue to get hitting commitments from the transfer guys. After the Connor Schaus one, it kind of felt like, all right, this thing's kind of solidified now. We kind of know where guys are going to be competing and all this. So I think if they were to lose a couple guys from that hitting side of the ball, then it's back to, all right, they really need to hit the portal, probably get another 2-3 hitters and start solidify things that way. They lose a couple pitchers. I think they've like we said, they've recruited well enough and have enough depth there that they can manage to get a couple more portal arms and feel good about where they're at.
Yeah, and the good news here for South Carolina is that they have a plan in place where, yeah, if they lose a few guys, I mean, they can go ahead and replace them in the portal. That's the case for all these teams. And the other good thing is I keep having something in my head to say about this. I keep losing my train of thought talking about it. What was I gonna say?
No, you're good. You think, because I'll say one other.
There's a lot we're talking about.
there's one other piece.
I'm pulling up my notes to make sure I have everything in place here. But this is what I was gonna mention. So the staff should know rather quickly, like, what guys are doing. Like, this is not going to be something where it's a wait and see game for a few weeks. Like, no, this is stuff that, like, if guys are going pro, they're signing those contracts within the next few days. Like, South Carolina should know rather quickly, maybe like by the end of the night on Sunday, maybe heading to Monday. I don't know exactly, but they should know soon enough after the draft ends, like, what guys are doing, and then they're going to pivot from there because they have to finish filling out this roster. But I think for the most part, they will be fine. Maybe they lose a few guys, they can replace them, and then they go from there. But I do agree with your point, though. Like, it'd be a lot tougher. Like, if you lost, like, I don't know, let's say like it's Costello and Schaus you lose. Just spitballing here. It's a lot tougher to replace guys that are going to be the big thumpers in your lineup that hit 17 and 10 home runs this year, respectively. Whereas with the pitching, you lose a guy like Ant Phillips. Well, okay, that stinks. Like, he was a weekend starter for you in 2026. But you have so much depth on the pitching side, and I think there's a lot more pitching out there in the portal. That worst case, if you wanted to go into the portal to get new guys, you can go ahead and get more pitching. I think it's a lot easier to find those guys, especially from a depth standpoint, compared to we need 2 more sluggers in the lineup. How are we going to replace those guys?
Yeah, because the thing is, if you lose some guys, their money opens up to go get some other guys. Even back when I played, there was scholarship money that would become available if a guy signed that, they may have that, coaches would earmark for, all right, this guy signs, we know we can offer, another 10% to this person to get this person to come in. So that's more with dollars and cents now than it is with, percentages of a scholarship. But they have that stuff earmarked, and that's where you have, the director of baseball operations, like Coach Schnall's staff has a good handle on this, because they got a bunch of guys on there that have their roles, and they've got this thing, like you've said, they've got a plan, and they've got multiple plans to attack this however they need to. And so, yeah, I think outside of losing both Costello and Schaus, I think that would be a real blow in this draft. But outside of that, I think they can weather pretty much any scenario that comes.
Yeah, because I would imagine they may lose pitching. That would be like the big thing. I would expect them to maybe lose a few guys from that standpoint that we've talked about. But yeah, as long as you don't lose Costello or like we talked about, those guys, Schaus, I think they're going to be fine. With Gudiño, I say he's probably the guy here next season if he comes here. I think that would have to be the case. Makes a lot of sense. But let's not sleep on the fact that you have Bryce Eastep, a guy that has done really good behind the plate. Not a great hitter, but defensively, he's been pretty solid. You have Andrew Costello as well that can catch. He's a guy that hits for a lot more, offensively, as opposed to he's much better offensively than he is defensively. It's kind of the roles reversed with Eastep. So you have guys in there. I would be interested to see if South Carolina goes after another catcher in the portal.
Yeah, I like we talked about. Even if Gudiño comes to campus, I think they need one more. Like, even if it's a developmental guy, I think they need a fourth catcher, no matter what.
At least one more catcher. I think they need. Regardless of what happens this week. If you get Gudiño here, massive. If not, I still think you need another catcher. Either way, you can't have two catchers going into the season. You need a third guy in there. If worst comes worse with injuries, because catchers can take a beating back there, you definitely need somebody else there behind the plate. But Ethan, as we start to wrap up here, any closing thoughts as we head on out of here? Any guys specifically that, like, if there's a guy that when we come on here next week that you're really hoping they make it to campus, who would it be?
I'll pick one from each side. I will say, now I think there's a very good chance he ends up on campus, but he is the type player that a scout may love. Hayden Johnson, I would really like Hayden Johnson to make it to campus. I think that's Friday night stuff from the left side. That is who I really hope makes it to campus on the pitching side. And then on the hitting side, I'm going to coin flip it and say Schaus, because I just think the potential to be really good is there. Top three, I won't say Petrie competitive pick, first round or second round. I forget what Ethan was, but I definitely a top three, a day one pick. We'll say it that way. I definitely think if he comes to campus and kind of replicates what he did at Texas Tech last year and maybe even improves on that some, that's a day one pick. And those guys don't come around but so often. Hopefully that they're more often now that our coaching staff's here. We can see a little bit of a pipeline of day one picks moving forward. But yeah, I think Hayden Johnson on the pitching side and Connor Schaus on the hitting side. I think if those two guys get the campus, you're feeling real good about where you're at.
Absolutely. No, the good news is, with these eligibility rules, guys have options to come back if they want to and not feel like they're risking it all by coming back. They have multiple years with a lot of these guys. And like you said, Ethan, some of these guys can really benefit from another year to where they can be a day one pick at some point. Yeah. But we'll see. So the draft gets going tomorrow afternoon out in Philly. First round begins at 1 p.m. Coverage on NBC Sports and Peacock. And then that'll be picks, round 1 through 4 throughout the day on Saturday. And then day 2 on Sunday, rounds 5 through 20, starting at 11:30 a.m. on MLB.com. And again, we will have all coverage for you on GamecockCentral.com. When a guy gets picked, we'll have a story up soon afterwards on the site, and then we'll have plenty to talk about after the draft and what it means for the roster moving forward. So appreciate you guys tuning in. As always, have a great weekend ahead. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you guys next week for Gamecock Central. I'm Jack Veltri, joined as always by Ethan Carter. Appreciate you guys as always. See you next time.